You know, I used to be fascinated about cruising. You know, back in the day, it wasn't called lowriders, you were cruisers. And as a young kid, I remember I was about 12, 13 years old, and I would sit in front of my porch and I would watch everybody cruising. I used to just sit there and I would just look at it and think, one day I'm gonna have me a nice car. As time went on, you know, I just had always a passion for cars. I think I was only 14 years old at the time. One day my brother told me, he goes, hey, there's a 54 Chevy in Montclair for sale. So, you know, me and my friend, we went down there, looked at it, and the guy said, hey, you know, he asked for sale, needs work, but he wanted $50. Well, I had to save up my money. It took me about a month to save up the money. So I get to the door, knock on the door, and tell him, hey, you know, I'm here for the car, but all I got is $47 and some change. And he goes, yeah, go ahead, take it. My car is a 1954 Chevy Bel Air, two-door hardtop. The accessories that it came with was a power seat, power brakes, power windows in the front doors, and it was an automatic. It's pretty much a fully equipped car. Back in those days, Chevy, that was a heavy car option. The engine that my 54 Chevy has is still the original engine. I just had it rebuilt. It's a 235 six-cylinder. That was a stock engine that came with the car. That's all 54 you can get in those days was the 235 six-cylinder, which is a good engine. You know, being able to say you have your first car is a really amazing thing. I mean, there's many times I've thought of selling it over the years. Now I look back and I think, wow, you know, there's so many memories in that car. Dated my wife in it, we got married in that car. You know, it was our first family car. And as time goes on, you know, I didn't drive it that much, so I would just park it. And it stayed parked for almost 20 years. And finally, I moved it into the garage that I have now, and then it just sat there until one day I go, you know, I gotta restore that car again. I just look back and I just think it's just so neat. And a lot of people always tell me it's so neat to have your first car. And I go, yeah, if that car could talk, it has a lot of memories, that car does. I started collecting cars in '95. It was at a point in my life where financially I was able to start, you know, and plus I was having more time. I just look for cars that are kind of unique. I've never bought a car that's already done. You know, I like getting a car that's either stock or needs to be restored, and we like to put our own flavor into it. You know, as I was restoring cars, my wife one day mentioned to me, you know, that she likes bombs. So I said, okay, so we looked and we found one. It needed to be restored. What we did is we updated the car, put a 235 out of a 58, changed the trans as well, and then we open drived it. And then when it came to be painted, we went to the paint shop and I go, what color do you want it? And she looked at her fingernails and she goes, you know, this is the color I want, the color of my fingernails. So it's a burgundy, that's the color she liked. And so we painted that car, and she just loves it. You know, I thank God that my wife, you know, she has the same passion as I do. She loves cars. The amount of cars I have, you know, there's a few cars. Everybody always asks me how many cars you got. I just tell them a few. But I would say, you know, I probably have over 15, 20 cars. I grew up in Pomona, California. I come from a family of 7. In my family, there's 3 older brothers and 3 younger sisters. My dad was a construction worker. My mom was a homemaker. My dad and my mom, you know, they were really good people. They provided, you know, my dad always tried to keep us out of the neighborhood scene. You know, he always wanted to do right. You know, watching my brothers, as they started working, you know, they had paper routes. You know, they were out cutting grass, you know, helping the family. And as a young boy, I seen that. And, you know, I always wanted to contribute to my family as well. So I remember, I think about 11, 12 years old, I got a lawnmower and I started cutting lawns. And I remember coming home and being able to give the money to my mom. Say, here you go, Mom, you know, this is to help out. I just wanted to contribute. My dad, for the longest time, used to be my role model. You know, he was a Marine. So I think at 14 years old, I remember taking my older brother's birth certificate, going down, and I signed up. I went in, and I remember taking the physical, and the guy there was looking at me, and he goes, hey, you know, you have a job, a 14-year-old. And I just kind of played off. I don't know why, I'm 18. But at that time, my mom was crying. So my brother finally said, all right, you know, he went ahead and went to the recruiter and told him, hey, you know, my brother, he lied about his age. And so next thing you know, they found out, and they sent me back home. So as soon as I turned 17, I ended up joining the Marine Corps. I served 6 years in the Marine Corps. I wanted to make it a career, but after having 2 children, I just got promoted to staff sergeant, but I was going back overseas again, and my wife, she didn't like that idea, so she goes, no, it's too hard to be gone for 13 months. So we made the decision to just get out. In the service, I got trained as a heavy equipment mechanic, so when I got out, that's what I started working. I became a diesel mechanic. When I got out of the service, I started working for a company called Detroit Diesel. So I started becoming a diesel mechanic, and then our company also worked on generators. So I ended up transferring over to the generator department. And then as time going on, I started just doing more and more. And then till 1985, I decided that, I told my wife, I go, I think this time I want to go into business. And business wasn't taking off it was taking off kind of slow. There really wasn't a lot of competition. There was basically a lot of larger companies. So I was able to find a niche to do a lot of work where nobody really wanted to do it. So I ended up, praying about it, and I believe that God gives us favor, and at that time, He did, and He opened the door, and our business just started growing. We started off in my garage for the first year, and then from there I moved into a building. I said, after being in business 5 years, I said I would like to buy my own building. I'm the CEO of AG Engineering, started in 1985. The type of work we do is on generators, and our work consists of anything from a tune-up, overhaul, repairing the electrical system on it, updating the generators, whatever it takes to get a generator up and running. Our customers is Verizon, we're now Frontier, Edison, the gas company, water company, a lot of high-rise buildings. Just about anywhere there's a generator, that's the kind of work we do. I have 2 sons that work for me. One of them's an electrician, the other one is a generator tech. And they kind of both cross-train, and they're good at what they do. When the time came that, we had our building built, I decided, I'm gonna make an area just for my cars. In this garage, I do a lot of my repairs. One side, I try to keep it all neat and organized, and the other side, that's where, I have a lift and I do my own work, and, I'm constantly adding parts that you need for cars, special nuts, special bolts. So I have a nice little inventory of my own personal stuff that I use on my cars. After I, restored a couple cars, I remember looking at them one time, and I remember just asking the Lord, I said, Lord, if there's any way I could use these cars, to speak into young people's life. Maybe a month later, this girl comes up to me. She's a chaplain at Camp Rocky. She goes, Al, how would you like to come in and talk to the boys? And I asked her, and I go, well, that's fine. I go, hey, is there any way I could bring in a car? So she checked, and she found out. She goes, yeah, you could. So as I started thinking about this, so I would use these as an example. I would give a story about a restoration. One thing I would ask these kids, I would tell them, a car has cancer. Cancer is rust, it eats up the floor, it tears it all up. And I would ask them, how many of you got cancer? And none of the kids would raise their hands. And I would say, no, I'm talking about cancer of the heart. And that's where, a black hates a Mexican, Mexican hates a black, white. I go, it's your heart where it's at. Then they would raise their hand. So then I would tell them, I go, this is where God wants to change your life. He wants to take that away from you. And so I would kind of talk to him and tell him that, God looks at them the same way we look at these cars. You're a trophy winner. So, just being able to mentor some kids, to let them know, that, they don't have to go down that road. There's such much better road to go down to if they would just, open their eyes and focus on the right thing and priorities in life. I'd rather drive an old car any day than a new car, because an old car has so much class to it. The fact that my wife is able to sit next to me. When we're in the car, we kind of just slip back into that time. And my wife makes me feel like a teenager again. She says I'll make her feel like a teenager again, because she sits next to me, she'll put her arm next to me, listening to the right music. At our age, people look at us and they just always give us a thumb up. They just think it's so neat that we could have so much fun. We live in the greatest country there is. I'm always telling young kids, I go, if you would just put your priorities right, educate yourself, I go, the world is yours. You can do whatever you want. You just got to believe in yourself, open your eyes and focus on the right thing and priorities in life. My name is Gutierrez. I'm the CEO of AG Engineering, and I'm a lowrider role model.